Okay, so this is the call to order of the Tuesday, January 18th, 2022 Public Works Committee meeting. The first item of business is approval of the minutes from the December 21st meeting. And I've read them. They looked okay to me. So if there's a motion to approve them or comments. Janae moved to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor of approving the minutes from December 21st? Say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, the second item is public comment. Kelsey,
We did not have any requests to speak this morning. I believe there were 2 email exchanges that were forwarded to you guys. That's all we have for public comment.
you know, and along that line, and maybe somebody has a input here. From what I understand, when I see the correspondence, we've gotten two emails in from citizens about a particular road. And each time those emails have been responded to the Public Works Committee with the opinion of city leadership that matters outside our purview and jurisdiction. So I think we've got maybe a little bit of a hanging participle there. And I don't know if we need to address that today, but Bruce did offer, I believe, in one of those emails to come and talk to us about it. So maybe I'll leave it to the next chairman, which we'll have here soon, as to what if anything we need to do to address that. I feel like it's a little bit in limbo.
Doug, can I say something?
Sure. Who is this?
So I'm familiar with that road, and I'm obviously friends with Beth and Mike Holland, Beth Hall and Mike Morgan. And Beth and Mike, I think that the point of Beth's message, if I might interpret, which I think was kind of lost on the response that they got, was the fact that the city uses that road and the city is not maintaining that road, and it's coming out of Beth and Mike's pocket to maintain that road where they have an easement for their business. And I think it was more about the community sense of, even if the city's relationship is with the Fraley as the owner of the property, I think it's about kindness and about compassion around, oh, okay, this is kind of a complicated situation. We're using a road that somebody else is paying to maintain. What is the city's responsibility? And I don't feel like that got addressed. And so I just want to voice that for the record, that I think that is the piece that needs to get addressed, whether it be by a staff member of the city or by Bruce. I don't know that it's necessarily our place as the committee, but I do think that this should be a realm where a community member can voice an issue that they're having with the city.
So actually, Bruce just wandered in. And Bruce, just to catch you up, we're on the public comment part, and I just said we've had these 2 emails that have come in to the committee, and each time you basically responded that it's your position that the matter on this road is outside our purview and authority. And all I basically says, I don't know if we have a hanging chad here or whatever that needs to eventually be addressed. I think you walked in about the time Amber was talking. And I know you've said at some point you're willing to come in and talk about it. I didn't mean to put you on the spot right now. It can be. So I'm catching you up there.
And Doug, could I make a comment just before, thank you very much, but I took the liberty of going out and seeing the road. Took the invitation. I used to live around there. I know the Fraleys very well. And I saw the road, and it just, some gravel here or there can put into some holes. But in my opinion, it's only my opinion, it's like a driveway. I don't consider the city to work on my driveway. It's my private driveway. And if I have to have it touched up or resealed, it's my responsibility. So I look at that as a driveway, and I understand the kindness and compassion, but I think this is one of those where it literally is a private matter.
Scott, I'll
Yes.
disagree, because the city doesn't go up and down your driveway with loads of rocks and debris to dump at the top of the road. So if that were the case, I think you might have a difference of opinion.
Okay, very good. I understand we both have opinions, but in my way, it's a private matter, and maybe we can work something, they can work something out between the Fraleys and themselves, because that's their property. It's not the city's property. Okay?
Yeah, and thank you for that, Scott. There have been numerous meetings with staff and Mike, and I don't know if Beth was at those meetings,
Mhm.
and the Fraleys. And the condition of the road was discussed. The city offered that if we wanted to do some additional work, that we would be willing to pay a third. And not all the parties agreed to do that. So I feel that we have made the offer. And also the road, to my knowledge, is adequate for that type of use.
Yeah.
But we don't use it. It's not, 24/7 we're running up there. It's when we have a street project or something. And the road is not falling apart. Scott, you were up there to see it.
Yes.
And we've had contractors go up and take a look at it and they say, no, I mean, there's some things that you can do, some maintenance on it. But that responsibility is not the city's, although we've said we would participate. So, and the disagreement, to me is between Beth Holland and Mike Morgan and the Fraleys. We are living up to our part of the agreement. And I know that I sense that they're not, Mr. Morgan and Ms. Holland are not happy with those vehicles driving on that road, but it's not their road. And I feel that there have been other efforts to try to make sure that we didn't do that. But that is a road we have agreements with the owners. And we have tried to be good neighbors. And others have not always said that they would agree to shoulder part of the cost. I think that there might be some other factors. I think that there is concern for a non-potable water line. And, the city's use of the road because of that. And the issue, and it's been brought to their attention, is that it's not deep enough. And so if you're going to put a road or a water line or whatever across the road, you need to protect it by putting it in deep enough. And that's not our responsibility. And if the issue is the truck weight on that non-potable water line, then it needs to be deeper. The answer is not necessarily that you can't drive a truck on it. So we remain willing to work with anybody, but we're not going to stand by and that we have property up there that we have to access. And we are using it for a legitimate purpose. And the owner has given us the right to use that road under certain conditions. And we met with the Fraleys just before they were going out of town for an extended time. And they said there's no issues with the road. Get some more potholes or something like that because of the rain, fill them, but that's all that it is. It's not a rebuild or keep your trucks off our road.
I agree.
Well, do we know, and I don't know if I ever did see the letter, do we know if the arrangement between the Fraleys and the other two parties is just a private contractual agreement or is it an official easement?
Can I speak?
Sure, Mike, I just didn't know you were here, but that's great.
Yeah, we have an easement that predated the Fraleys by going back to the owners even before the Schroffs who owned it. The Schroffs sold both property to both us and the Fraleys, and the road ended up on the Fraleys property. And so it's a solid easement. And when we started our nursery, we were required by the county to improve the road to 12 feet and put the asphalt apron at the bottom of the road and do some other improvements. And then when the Fraleys when they bought their property, which included the road, we worked with them to keep the road open because we have a business. We've got a licensed nursery and short-term rental property there. So we've worked with them, not very successfully in the past. The water line does go underneath a culvert. It goes through a culvert underneath the road. And it's Bruce is wrong. It's not non-potable. It's our water source, both for drinking water and for irrigation. But it's our lifeline, and we have a legal easement from the Fraleys for that water line. And in the past, the city has spread some gravel on the road. Trevor did it about, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and without any complaint from the Fraleys. I don't know why the Fraleys think that the road is just fine, but it's definitely slumping in a couple of places. And I don't think it's going to be a huge expense. The city has spent a lot of money improving the road beyond the White Gate all the way up to the dump site. And it just doesn't seem to be very fair to us that you would do that and not improve the road to our place.
So Mike, can you clarify as to the easement, as to the road, do you have an actual easement from the Fraleys, or is that are you piggybacking on their easement? Can you clarify that?
Yeah, we have a pre-existing, we didn't have to get an easement from the Fraleys when they bought the property, because the easement went back to the Shields family, which way back in the midst of time.
Okay.
But we have a solid easement. We've had attorneys look at the easement. It's recorded. It's for access. And we were frustrated because the city worked almost exclusively with Lewis and Clark Timber and the Fraleys, and didn't consult us when they started running the trucks up to the dump site. And we've expressed that to Karen and Bruce, and of course the attorney says we don't have a legal right to challenge it, but from a moral standpoint, just from a community standpoint, I would expect that we would have some respect from the city. I mean, we have always had not very good relationships with the Fraleys for whatever reason. So that aside, I don't want to talk about that, but I think just from the city standpoint, the main users of the road are us and the city. Lewis and Clark has no plans for a timber harvest. I've asked Mark Morgans this. Has no plans for a timber harvest in the foreseeable future. So it's just, and the Fraleys never use the road except for walking up or checking to see if anybody's parking up there. But we have several trips a day, and when we have an event, we have many trips, and sometimes the city has 2 or 3 truckloads an hour that go up to the dump site when there's a big job going on. So, and our vehicles are always just cars, and the city's vehicles, of course, are mostly loaded dump trucks with 10 or 12 yards of heavy material in it. So I guess, I'm appealing to the Public Works Committee, and as well as, and I will talk to the council about this, but Beth and I have been here for 50 years, and we've given lots of service to the city. Me as the mayor, Beth as a landscaper, and as a member of the design review board and the parks board. And from a community standpoint, I would think that we would be given a little more respect than just getting a cold letter from the city attorney that says get lost. So that's my pitch, and we are
Okay.
willing to participate financially. I mean, I guess since we use the road, but I think the city should definitely have some skin in the game here.
Thank you, Mike. You framed it up pretty well and fill in some blanks there. So, yes.
I'd like to just share, this is Karen, that Mike is correct. He did voice to me his concerns when we were first getting our spoil site top secured. And if you guys will recall, the reason we developed this is because most of the locations along the north coast that we were previously able to dump spoils had closed. And Teven and some of the other locations along were changing hands, and all of us, not just the city, but our contractors were limited on where they could dump product whenever we were doing big projects. So Greenwood was the one that suggested, why don't you use your own property? We'll give you a contract. You guys talk to the Fraleys, get the contract for the road below, because they own from the gate down. Greenwood owns from the gate up to our property. What we deposit up there is controlled by DEQ. So it's only clean spoils. There's no concrete, no asphalt. So we're pretty limited on what we can put up there, but at least it saves money on our projects that the contractor's not running clear up to Astoria, which was our only other place that we could do. And that in the summertime, that's 2 hours up and 2 hours back. Our projects were just exploding in cost associated with it. So this is why we established that. We were required to develop the road a certain way at the top and the bottom to be able to prepare for this traffic. And again, it's only when we're having certain types of road jobs that we can use that site. And when Mike called me and expressed his concerns, I was very cooperative with him in the sense that I said, when you know you're going to have a wedding up there, or you know your nursery is going to get deliveries, or you have some sort of a garden club event, or you have someone in your short-term rental, if you can give me those dates, I'll try the best I can to schedule our projects around those dates, knowing that that's going to be somewhat of a disturbance to him. He's never given me a schedule, never given me a date of an event. So I can only work with what I have to work with. I don't always control the dates of when a contractor can do a project for us. So sometimes I don't have that flexibility. But if I do, and we're coordinating with the contractor, most certainly I would be sensitive to anything they may have going on up there. But I received my marching orders from the owner above the gate, which is Lewis and Clark Greenwood, and the Fraleys, which owns the road below the gate. The easement that Mr. Morgan's talking about transferred, the Fraleys control what goes on that road, and that's who I have to yield to for anything concerning the road. I can't just go up and put gravel on it just because I want to. They tell me when they feel maintenance is in order. Beth and Mike, Mr. Fraley, myself, and Trevor all met. We talked about what their desire was on the road. It was more than just gravel. And in all good conscience, I could not spend city money to do that entire job on the city's dollar. It wasn't reasonable. I could have never passed that to Bruce or the council. It just didn't pass the smell test.
Good.
And as I shared with Bruce, I told the Fraleys, I'm happy to split this 3 ways. I think I can defend that to the leadership because we're all using it. But as Mike points out, they have a business up there. They use the road just like they use the road. And so, again, it's not the committee's purview to weigh into this issue. We take our direction from the owners. And if someone outside of those 2 owners asks me to do something with the road, I have to go ask those 2 owners if they're okay with that.
And so I think that's, it's not necessarily a rub, but that's why at least I think we need to talk about it because we had these emails that came in, obviously after the fact of all these prior communications, agreements, discussions. And, you know, we're an advisory committee. I looked at the ordinance for this meeting. We're an advisory committee basically to you. We're an advisory committee to the Public Works Director. So when the Public Works Director says this is beyond our purview, basically,
You're not,
just a minute. So you feel like you don't need any advice. I'm not sure where we're supposed to go. Mike, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to finish that thought. Mike, did I interrupt you? I didn't mean to.
Muted him because it's background noise of you guys are having a discussion. So
Okay.
you want him back on?
Yeah, I think you wanted to say something, I think. Mike, you back on? Mike?
unmute. Okay, here we are. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hello. This is Beth Holland here. And there's 2 things. One that there was a commitment to, I heard Karen say there was a commitment to maintain the road above and below. That was one thing. The other, and Karen, I think you'll just have to bear with me here, but I honestly heard you say that there would be never any discussion on our use of the road. So you'll just have to bear with me because I completely misunderstood you on that. What you're saying now is not what I heard. And if that's the case, then that's a wonderful change for us to know that we're sharing the road with someone who's willing to hear us.
And so is there, Karen just expressed and supported by Bruce, that it's their position that this is outside our purview. We're advisory to Karen.
I know,
So-
but I'm sorry, but I'm afraid we do have to turn to you because what we are understanding from Karen and Bruce is that we have no right to our access. We plan on building our home over here in the next few years. We're running a business, which we've run. We have a nursery and an event center. We now have a guest cabin available. And these are the city staff is saying that we have no right, that they have no reason to let us know. At least previously, my belief was that Karen had stated she would never listen to any of our needs, that was not a concern of hers. Now, if that's changing, that's wonderful. If this is an ongoing event, that the road is simply decaying over time with their use with these heavy trucks, which has been the case, then we have no alternative but to turn to the city. Who else can we possibly go to? They're telling you that we can't turn to you. We're turning to you because you are there for the purpose of guiding these kinds of policies. I disagree adamantly with the fact that you don't.
I might break in here.
Okay.
Beth,
Hang on, Mike. Please hang on.
I'm sorry, but I think we've gone overboard. This meeting is supposed to be a public works meeting. We did not have a comment. It was not scheduled to have a comment. So I think we really need to table this so we can finish our business. I'm sorry.
No, I'm hearing you, Janae. And well, this almost seems like it needs a future agenda item, fact-finding situation.
Yeah.
I would,
I'm happy to listen, but this is not the right time.
Yeah.
we
Yes,
would
I-
appreciate it. We would appreciate that. And I want to say in Karen's defense, the one time I did that, Beth may not know about this, but the one time that we had recently that we had an event up there, I informed Karen and she said, okay, the trucks won't run in the afternoon or through the weekend, of course. But that's a little bit apart from the issue of maintenance of the road. And I think that's really where it all comes down to. So we'd love to have it on an agenda item in the future, but I think we would like to take it, as is our right, we will take it to the council and would like to have the Public Works Committee weigh in on this.
Okay, Janae, go ahead. Share your.
Yeah, and Mike, I agree. I think if this is a council, you need to take it to the council. I really don't agree that this is part of Public Works. We're here to advise, but that's not something that I see that, I hear a lot of things from you guys is unfair. That's one thing that it just pops up to me. I'm not sure whether, if the city was trying to do, they did some work on my road. And I would think that they should have paid some things, and that just because they did my neighbors, it would have been unfair to me. There's a lot of things that I just hear from you guys about that. And I just don't see that as part of our group to be commenting or even, listening.
That's the city's
I
position.
think that's a good idea.
And could I make one, as a new member, I have heard that there's been a proposal made. I heard that from Bruce and from Karen, as to somehow splitting this 3 ways and working out some kind of a proposal to make all parties, feel like they're satisfied. So maybe that proposal should be offline and taken up as a project to see if that can be resolved. I don't think going back into, stirring the pot anywhere else is going to actually have a resolution.
The city manager's had his hand up here for 10 minutes, and then we'll hopefully.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Okay, and I have 2 points. In that discussion, it was offline and the city proposed it.
Okay.
And there was no takers. So I don't know how much more we can do with that. That's in, Karen, I just discussed it again, and we're still willing to do that.
It's still on the table and the owners are agreeable to that. We don't have the authority to move forward without the owner saying.
Agreed.
Another thing is that I heard Beth make the statement, and maybe I misunderstood you, Beth, but that somehow the city staff said that you can't use that road. And we know that's not the case. They have an agreement. I don't know about the easement, but I know they have an agreement to use the road as we do. We don't want to stop them from using the road. That is totally unreasonable. And from our standpoint, it's never come up. That's never.
I'm sorry, that was a misunderstanding. It was when I asked Karen initially if we would be able to coordinate the use of the road with her so that our guests and we had a troop of children walking up for a workshop that day and there was great concern. And I do believe that the city slowed the traffic down while that workshop was going on. But this is simply in light of a request that I made to Karen that we do that kind of coordination, and her response at the time, and I'm sorry if I misunderstood it, but it was very strongly worded that they would never consult with us on any of our arrangements, that our arrangements would never stop theirs. Now, again, I apologize, but that's specifically concerning joint use of the road, not ever stopping the use of your vehicles on the road.
But did we, and I don't mean to belabor this, but my understanding is you said that we were trying to stop you from using the road.
No,
And
no,
I-
no, no, not at all,
Right, thank
Bruce.
you.
No, no.
Thank you.
I'm just saying the coordination between us, if it could exist, would be a huge step forward for us. Just so that we know our guests are safe and that we're, we're not anticipating a lot of mud on the road on a day when a wedding's occurring, things like that. We just want to be sure that we have a coordinated effort.
Yeah.
Right, when those
Mike is-
events are organized, if you can shoot me an email so we know when they are, or I've asked from the very beginning, if you guys could give me a schedule of when you plan those events, then it helps
Karen,
me.
I'm sorry, but that has, I'm very sorry, but between you and I think we need to have another discussion on that. And I'm very open and very happy if that's the case.
As you guys know, we plan
Thank you
our-
very much. Thank you very much for your time. And we don't want to take any more of your time at this point. And we thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just sounds like
thank you.
So as you
there
guys
is
know,
opportunity for more
projects
discussion.
quite a ways in advance, because contractors have to have lead time to get the job.
Absolutely. No, I think that's, and the 4 hour up to, back and forth Astoria, that all makes sense.
Schedule of when their when it becomes impossible for me to accommodate stopping a contractor. when We've had something planned for months in advance. And so there's where the challenge becomes. If I get a call the day before something, and we've already got contractors rolling trucks, it's hard for me to stop.
I think you're being very supportive and trying to help them.
Try the best.
I really do.
For some reason, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they never heard what you guys said, and that's the reason why I just, this is something that, I heard it within seconds, and there was.
All we're doing is rototilling.
Repeating and rolling.
Yeah.
I think a lot of progress has been made just in this last 30 minutes.
Actually, I do too.
I do too.
Yeah. So,
I think it was probably a good discussion, but I think it's also time to move on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
okay.
Bet.
Agreed and on both points. So I know we're a little behind schedule. But I think it's okay. Just looking at the rest of the agenda here, we're going to elect a chair and vice chair here in a minute. We're going to have after that, we're going to have one utility relief request, which should go pretty fast. Public Works status, I'm not sure exactly how much you folks have over here, but I'm looking ahead on 5C there. Karen, you and probably you too, Trevor, you've got a spreadsheet on the back here. I'm thinking it might take a little bit of time to go through. And I'm about.
Go through it. It's just to remind you what our master
Okay.
plan projects
Okay.
are.
Okay,
You don't have to go through it.
okay, just looking at future time management here. We
Yeah, it's
keep
very nice.
planning on the utility relief ordinance so we can get down there and be flexible. So I'm just looking ahead. We might run over a little bit today unless that really hampers somebody. Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 3 there, number 4. It's elect chair and vice chair. I know there's been some discussion about whether I personally can make a motion. I think the consensus probably is not a good idea, but I can express an opinion. So I will do that and see where it goes from there if you guys will allow me to do that. Looking at, and I said I reasoned that I wanted the title of interim chair is because I wanted to wait till we had some additional members to kind of see what the chemistry was and that we're at full strength, and we are at full strength, and we have been for just a little bit now, which is great. And we got a great group here, up and down. So I prefer not to continue as chair in 2022. I've got still 3 years left on the committee in my second term, so I'll have a chance to come back if need be. So my opinion, not a motion, but my opinion is kind of looking at the group here and who's talked to me about interest and non-interest is I think that for 2022, Janae Pierce-Musin, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name, would be an excellent chair. She's been on the committee. Sure. She's been here the second longest, almost as long as I have. As you can tell from her always good of the order items, very involved with the community, very, very knowledgeable. I think she'd do a fantastic job as chairman for 2022. And Stephen Waite as vice chair, he's brought, I think, a lot of background, experience, and insight to the committee. I think you do a great job backing up Janae when necessary. So I don't know exactly, if you're concur in that, I would certainly hope somebody would make that motion. If not, we can further discuss it.
I'll make that motion. Okay,
Can anybody second it?
I'll second that.
okay, very good. Yes.
All in favor, and to make sure we were on the same page, all in favor of Janae being chairman for 2022 and Steve being vice chair for 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then that sounds unanimous. So I think that's effective immediately.
That's effective immediately.
So.
Hey, you all right?
You're waiting in the wings.
9:36.
Yeah. The only thing we won't.
Trust me, Doug, yeah.
You're gonna go, you're just gonna go.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
You're gonna push Doug out of his chair.
Yeah, well, actually, I would.
Literally, you're the chair, right?
I would change chairs with her, but it's probably not COVID appropriate. So from now on, I'll take your chair after today.
All right, very good.
It's not a big deal.
Excellent.
Chair seat.
Okay.
So,
Very nice.
anyways, but thank you guys. I'm happy to be here and serve as chair. So we'll move on to utility relief. I'm sure you guys have read it. Do I have a motion on the floor?
I move to approve.
Yeah,
Do I have a second?
I second.
The only discussion is an editorial comment, which is, always been my sort of on my agenda. You notice that on the request, I don't have it right in front of me, they're asking us specifically for relief from both the water and sewer, which I think just, again, highlights the common perception that they're going to get water relief. In fact, that it's only appropriate to give sewer relief. That's just an editorial comment, but yeah, that's it. So we have a motion to approve.
Yep.
And it's been second.
And it's been seconded, so go ahead.
All right. So, Discussion information minus the public works. Carol, you have-
Okay, in honor of time,
We need a vote on that utility relief request.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of hijacked.
Sure, no problem. Thank you, Kelsey.
All in favor of approving?
Okay, do we have we have a motion, we have a second. Are we all in favor?
Aye.
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 okay, ready?
Yep.
Latest status is the Matanuska pump station cover. That bid is out. And so we'll have a bid opening. I think the turnaround time gave the contractors a couple of weeks.
Okay.
But once we do the public open bid, then we'll take it to council with the intent to award. As long as they have no disagreements, then we will award the contract and we'll have a pre-bid meeting to talk about the details of that project. The goal of that is to have that cover on before Easter. That may be quite an aggressive goal. But once we have the contract awarded and we talk to the contractor, if there's any material issues because of the supply chain challenges that we're seeing right now, then adjustments will be made. The other bid that we have out is the Warren Way Hemlock intersection that about a year and a half ago, council asked us to proceed with a four-way stop, and we got grant money to do that project. So because it was grant money, we've had to go through a lot of gyrations with people looking at that project, bid, the designs and everything, and signing off on it. So there was a lot of lag time before we could actually put it out to bid. But that is out, and it's about the same time frame as the Matanuska pump station cover. So once we do a public bid opening, same thing, we'll take it to council, let them know who the intent to award it to, and that project will proceed. We're working closely with Talivana Inn because it will have their entrance to their whole hotel obstructed slightly, not completely, but we're going to work closely with them. But they're so excited to get those candlesticks out of there that they don't care what it'll take to do it. They're just happy about it. So that'll be a great project to have behind us.
And that's right there where Fresh Foods is on the corner.
Mhm.
Yeah, because that is kind of a
So right now it's
iffy, like you got to watch, is somebody coming?
it's a two-way stop right now going east and west, and it'll become a four-way stop.
Yeah, that's great. It is excellent. That's a.
And then the turn lane, as you come off of Warren Way from the highway and you're looking west, that turn lane will be reestablished there on that one.
Very good.
But that will be the only corner that gives a multiple.
Good improvement.
So it'd be a big improvement. So that's the latest and greatest right now.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? No? All right, utility relief request form that we have been working on, right?
Yes.
Just so you guys don't feel too much pressure on this, our supply chain issues are plaguing us with the last bit of those meter module updates or replacements. And so that project will not complete until March. So you have some time on this because we wouldn't want to take it to council until that project is complete. And we set a new set of expectations in light of that new tool.
Which project, Karen? I'm sorry.
That's the meter module replacement, which is the direct relationship with these relief requests that come through. So you got some time. You wouldn't want to actually take this to them before the project is actually deemed complete.
Probably April.
Is that April we're looking at?
Yeah, I'd say April, because again, once we complete the project, we'll do a big media blast to say the project's done. Everybody now has this tool in their hand, Ion Water.
Yeah.
And we've updated the ordinance that says, whatever you guys decide.
Okay, I have a couple of things. We did wonder what the cost of the water was so that any relief that we give didn't cost the city money. In other words, how much does it cost to treat and deliver that water to our customer? And are we making sure that when we give them relief, like on this one, that relief isn't more than what the water cost is, so it's not costing the city any money? And we were going to do some division on that.
Yeah, I asked Dan about that. It was really hard to calculate exactly how much it was per gallon to treat and chlorinate. It was so minuscule that it's hard to compute it.
So it's a very small number and we're not going to infringe on any of the cities.
Close to cost neutral.
Okay.
Probably.
Just wanted to oppose that. And one other thing that if we're going to table this and come back in a few weeks after the Ion Water is done, what I'd like to do is just remind the committee what our objective was for this document. So I just wrote a couple of notes here, and maybe for my own good also, is concise and reasonable guidelines for applying water leak relief and encourage timely and complete repair of system leaks while fully recovering city costs of delivery and treatment. So, make it simple, concise, and encourage people to repair the entire system, kind of a thing.
What's timely? That should be defined.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that right now, aren't we saying that we have timelines on there right now, isn't it 3 months, something like that, within 3 months?
I believe the leak itself actually has to be repaired within 10 days of discovery.
I was going to say there is a time frame on it right now.
Then the relief is 3 months, is that correct?
So
90 days.
repair within 10 days of discovery, request must be filed within 60 days of the repair, and the relief amount itself shall not exceed 90 days of usage.
90 days, okay,
Okay.
that's very good, 90. So if those timelines still work, maybe we don't need to mess with them, but if they don't work, if there's something, Trevor, that,
I just wanted it to be defined.
Yeah.
Timely can be portrayed as 6 months or 1 week.
Right.
People's views.
I think that if it impacts you at all, any of those timelines, that we'd like to work with that.
That's fine.
And changing the time to.
That's up to you guys. I mean, it's fine with me, the timeline that's in place right now.
I think we talked about this before, and I think it wasn't the timeline so much as it is we were allowing repeated submissions for the same line that was causing the problem. And so that's where we would need to tighten it up a little bit, is to put something in there about if you had a break in this line and you submitted a relief request already, and that line ends up giving you trouble again, do we honor a second repair on that same line? Or that was the issue that we talked about originally. We had an example of a business that I think had submitted 5 requests for the same line, and they just kept patch repairing, and we kept giving them money time, but they never replaced the line that was problematic. So that's where we started talking about
Mhm.
timeframe, meaning that once a year you could submit a relief request.
For the same line.
Yeah, or some cities only allow you 1 year period, doesn't matter which line it's on.
Well, some are as long as 5 years
Mhm.
between leak requests. And we still have this as the attachment, which is, in my opinion, is still a good guideline of things we need to cover. And it does borrow from some other examples, and
Mhm.
one of which is frequency, meaning how many adjustments do you get over a period of time? I said some cities as long as 5 years.
Right.
And proof of repair must be submitted. And then if you look at the bottom there, no relief for repeated submittal requests for the same service line, time limits on repair, limit on the number of billing cycles eligible for relief. So I mean, we're back in the same thing, but
I think that's what drives the sense of urgency for them to make the repair, is that they know they got one shot at getting a relief, so they want to make sure they're making a repair that's going to hold, you know?
Well, any reputable plumber or pipe fitters are going to tell them the shape of that line anyway. And they're gonna say, look, the whole thing's deteriorating. So they have that information, I would assume, from any reputable.
Doesn't mean that they actually take the action though.
Right, but so to your point, we need to encourage them to,
Mhm.
if it's a deteriorating line that's going to happen again within a foreseeable future, that they should think pretty
Right.
hard about replacing the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Trevor, that 10 days, does that, do you think that gives the people enough time to initiate a repair?
I believe so.
Okay,
It's 10 work days, correct?
I believe so. You can get a plumber
It's
and
defined as 10 days, so that it's not,
Okay, work
that
days.
would generally be calendar days.
Okay, calendar days. Well, yeah, and with the pandemic and everything, that might be a little bit tight because people, trying to get a plumber now is tough. So you can get one, but not timely.
Well, we can say 10 working days and that should,
That's 2 weeks, yeah. That's better. I had one other question, real quick. Back in August, we said that our goal was going to be 50% on ion water.
Mhm.
And is that still our goal?
It's not on hold because the guys continue to encourage people to sign up.
Okay.
And whenever we get one of these, we look to see if they've got an ion water account. And if they don't, then I make a phone call. to
Great.
them.
Because that I think is,
We're processing this, but I noticed you haven't signed up for ion water. So I'm taking that opportunity to do that. Most of the time, and I think with the exception of one, Daryl's already beat me to the punch and he's called them and told them, let me get you set up.
great. Okay.
And so we're still, hard charging on that. And then when we do that last media blast with the newspaper and our bulletin and all that, I think we'll get another push up on it.
Good. Sounds great.
anything else that we need to? Great, yeah, great comments on that. I definitely think we need to make sure that we know the timeline. I would just say, I'm sorry, but my opinion is once every 5 years, but you guys need to decide, but I'm going towards that.
I can, if we don't decide that, I can go back and look at some of my prior research, like the 5 year may be out there. I can't identify exactly which jurisdiction that was. I think it might be 3 years where I live at home, back home.
Yeah, and again, the geographical location, like in Phoenix, Arizona, it might be 5 years. Here, it might be, a year or 2 years because of just the environment, the weather and earthquakes.
But I do agree that that time limit on how often you can go to the well, so to speak, or ask, that's almost going to be self-incentivizing on.
Yes,
Right,
that is.
because they know that that's it for quite a while.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would encourage having that as sort of a fundamental element of this, because if people understand that it's a one-shot deal for quite a while, that really it's an incentive to fix it and fix it right.
Get it done right the first time. And like you said, most plumbers, pipe fitters will recommend, but I'm sure that they will always say, there's always people that are gonna say, I didn't know that.
Right.
Trust me, I know. that, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll tell you that.
it's the old slogan, measure twice, cut once.
That's right.
You get it.
Okay, so do we bring this back to the next meeting for more discussion? What would you guys like to do?
I think it's, at some point, sounds like March or April, we need to, in my view, we need to go to the council with something coherent.
Keep our eye on it.
We've worked around the edges, we're getting closer to the middle. And just a matter of when we want to
Concise.
hand something to, I guess, Karen, and she can go to whatever the city attorney or whatever, say what would have to change. And then take it to the council, so.
You guys nail down the specifics that you want in it. Then I'll work on a draft to bring back to you and say, this is what it would look like. We can hold that till the project's done. And then we take the whole package to council and say, project's done. It was successful for these factors. We underran it. We got our percentages up. Hermiston, I think, is just a 6% ion water take rate. We're at 31 right now.
Okay, good. We were at 30.
It's at 50%.
Okay.
And then here's the ordinance that we'd like to, here's the draft wording for the ordinance we'd like to make changes to in light of this capital investment the city's made to put this tool into everybody's hand. So we can go ahead and get it drafted and ready now, or we just sit on it to take it to council till the project's finished.
I think that would be a good idea. Get it done so we can,
Okay.
get it off our
Mhm.
agenda list. So, so maybe next month we should have, Doug, you've been working on this quite a bit. So, do you think we're ready to, we have pretty much a lot of the answers.
Right, and I still kind of go back to the attachment here where my intention was to capture everything we need to think about on this sheet. And we had, and Steve was kind of running our discussion, we had worked our way more than halfway down with consensus of the committee. And it seems to me like if we can get all the way to the bottom,
Okay.
in my opinion, we'd have the framework to actually maybe convert this to paragraphs as opposed to bullets.
Right. It seems like we're pretty close. Part here.
I think we got down to the frequency.
That's right, Steve. That's what my notes said. We gotten all the way down to frequency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you pretty much have everything nailed down except your frequency. If you're gonna go the 3-year or 5-year, once a year.
So I think we can do that now. Can we
Yeah, I think so
decide now?
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, 3 years sounds pretty reasonable to me, but.
I think that's close to standard.
And also, I think what's kind of important is the type of documentation received that says this is fixed. It's certified, we should have something that says this is certified by a plumber license, not just, hey, it's okay, we fixed it.
Yeah, that's 2 bullets down. Proof.
Is it okay?
That's what we submitted.
Proof of repair, very good.
Um,
And I know I have that here, okay.
Okay, should we start then at the frequency? Have we come to an agreement,
I think
maybe
we-
once every
yes.
36 months?
You
3
guys,
years?
yeah, you guys agree with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think.
I'll make a motion, say 36 months.
Do we
then
need
on
any
that, or-
motions?
I think a general
I think-
consensus is
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah.
I don't think, right now we can
At
just.
the end,
Yeah.
the very end.
Okay. Next, the amount. How do we feel about monetary limitations or maximums?
I'd put that in there because some jurisdictions say, oh, that's all well and good, but you can't have a gigantic leak of, a gazillion gallons. We're only going to go so far. Some of it is by dollar amount, some of it is a percentage. You see on the second bullet there, some of it is a cubic feet limitation, so.
So I guess, do you have any,
I didn't bring all the various jurisdictions background with me, but.
Karen, Trevor, do you guys have any suggestions on that?
I kind of like to go back and look at remember the data I told you for you guys? I think it was like a 5-year look.
Right.
And that gave you the number of requests that had come in for the one restaurant. I'd like to look at the dollar amount again, because the dollar amounts were on there, and see kind of what the peak is that we have refunded to date. I like your idea of saying, not to exceed X amount of money. But you also have to keep in mind that we're gonna have rate increases
Right.
years. And so maybe you want to say not to exceed X gallons.
I would, prefer-
Whatever the gallons is gonna translate to dollars based on the current rate.
I totally agree. I love that, but I'd like to see it in cubic feet, not in gallons, because that's how the meters are read.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay,
that all compute to gallons eventually, but cubic feet is what we use
Mhm.
in our
Yeah.
world here.
So either cubic
Here we go.
feet or dollars now.
okay.
So I. cubic
Seven
feet.
point four seven gallons per cubic foot or 8.7?
6.31, I believe.
731.
I know that what 400 is our standard. This is what you should be able to stay within in an average month for a standard family. So, you know, mine might be pretty easy to calculate
Yeah,
off of
because
that.
we looked at that when Carolyn was doing the whole utility rate, look, we took a look at that number.
I don't know, if your average leak that goes on for whatever, does that take that average of 400 up to 2,000 or whatever? I've never really looked, but some cap would seem reasonable. You know, if you're,
7.48.
if,
0.48.
you know, if these quote unquote average household stays somewhere around 400 and a leak bumps it up to 1,200, it's how far do you want to go? And, you know, I think your cubic foot measurement is exactly what we should do, because
Okay.
everything stems off of that in the city. So I think it'd be a volume limitation would make the most sense. I just don't know what that should be. We
Right,
discussed
so
it.
we'll need some guidance from you guys. And then I think, you know,
Well,
With that,
I mean, you got to look at commercial and residential differently. You know, so if you put a limitation on residential, is it going to concur with commercial? Is that fair?
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Maybe if we just put a limit on that includes, because the lines for the homes are going to be smaller and the use to be smaller.
Right, the meters are
Just put one
smaller.
cap on there.
Different than a hotel popping a leak.
right.
Yeah, you got the difference in meters.
I always look at it from a budget perspective. What can
Sure.
we afford to fork out, you know, more so than usage? And then you have a little bit more equitable between residential and business. If you just cap a dollar amount, it's not discriminatory over one or the other. It's a cap on dollar amount.
It's a good alternative point. Well, yeah, you wouldn't have to,
Like insurance companies. you
And
have
it's
not
simple.
to exceed.
Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense, right?
yeah.
It's not a single cubic foot cap.
Okay.
It's the whole thing.
No, I think, I'm trying to change my viewpoint here is, you know, Trevor said, you know, well, you got commercial leaks, you got residential leaks, and you have to distinguish between the two. And the city would bill out X amount of dollars for that cycle where there was a leak. They know how much that would be, and they know how much they're foregoing.
Right,
So we're saying is we're not going to forego more than X
right,
in dollars. Which
right.
might, I don't know, Trevor, how you feel about that? That might be easier.
Yeah, just an arbitrary number. Let's just say not to exceed $1,000. Okay, it doesn't discriminate residential or business. It just, it's a financial cap dollar amount that says not to exceed X amount of dollars. And then it doesn't really matter the usage or the business or the residential, it's what the city's willing to pay out for a leak that ran for a period of time.
Okay.
Right? Because if your goal is to try to get them to repair it as quickly as possible, and they now have eye on water where they can see in a 24-hour period that they've got a leak somewhere, the maximum that should be running without being repaired is the 10 days that's in your provisions, right?
Yes, and it's also understandable to the person, a dollar amount, not cubic feet.
Yeah, cubic feet.
I can go, okay, what does that
You're
mean?
not trying to
Dollar amount.
calculate feet or usage or anything else. They just know that that's the max dollars that the city's going to pay out towards
Gets their attention.
a leak.
So the question now is, $1,000, what is going to be the amount? There is the question.
My,
Karen, what do you think?
I'd like to go back and look at that 5-year stretch that we printed
Okay.
off. I know we did have one business that had a sizable leak that the city had to address. But it was something we've never seen before. And so I wouldn't want to measure it based on that extreme. I would want to take something more in that 5-year look that I gave you guys. So before we put a dollar amount, let me go back and take a look, and then I'll shoot you guys out an email that says this is your low and this is your high over this span of time. You can assume that's going to be kind of your average.
The outliers go away. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, where are we now? Responsibility for remaining percentage now.
Oh,
We were talking about amount there, which is the third bullet
Yeah,
on there.
okay, so, let's see, proof of reports, we already, the proof of reports. We normally get stuff from plumbers and
Correct.
everything, so I mean, we're not gonna be changing anything, right? I mean, we don't just
No.
take a note from the client.
Well, there is an allowance in your utility relief request form to provide receipts for parts. So if someone had a,
Water
pipe under their sink that was clearly cracked and they had the do-it-yourself skills to just replace that piece of the pipe or whatever,
Yeah,
that is an allowance currently in the form.
just like if I got a leak at my house, I'm gonna try to fix it myself without calling
oh,
it.
yeah, okay, all right, I got you.
Providing receipts is the same thing as,
But yeah.
you,
Yeah.
Whether it's received from the contractor or from Home Depot, yeah.
Yeah, it's meant to, if you do it yourself, it's meant to represent what a plumber would have
done.
given to you as.
Right.
Yeah, it's documentation. It's good.
Okay, so do you guys still continue to agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, that's-
So, yeah.
Okay, now relief for repeated submittal for leak of the same service line. That's, should definitely be a, yes, they should not be requesting for relief. But now again, we
So,
do have the 3
If we have
years.
the 3 years,
So
yeah,
does that still?
that's-
I may not know, that may not be relevant now.
Exactly.
I'm thinking out loud.
Correct. No, I think that's not relevant now.
When you speak of service line, does that mean everything inside the house or just the service line itself? Because if they get a leak in their service line and then a year later, they get a faucet that's leaky or whatever inside the house, is that considered the service line?
I'm thinking that it's the main service line.
So it's for each
We have to
tax lot.
define-
Well, I think we have to define, I think we need to define that. though.
I'm saying, because the service line, I look at
Yeah.
it differently than what's inside the house.
I agree. You have a ghost flushing inside the house, but your service line is fine. So you kind of like, the service line is the main, it's gonna be the expensive one. That gets a leak.
Think about it.
Yeah,
So, okay, so let's go back to the frequency and the leaks repair. So the adjustments of which bullet was that, the frequency?
Number
We
two.
said 3 years,
Yeah,
okay? So then this one, relief to repeated submittal of the leak. So, yeah, I think the frequency would be for a leak on the same area. That's what I would consider.
Yeah, it seems like we're confusing those.
well, see, that's not
So that
usually,
last picture, 3 year, I thought you were referring to what Doug was saying, some other cities. You can only submit one leak of
Yeah.
any kind.
yeah, regardless.
in that Period of time.
See, and I think that's what we should do.
Well, no, and I'm agreeing with that.
Yeah.
Basically, because it's very simple. You come in with a leak request on X date. Okay, that's fine. It goes in the city's computer. You can't
Yeah.
come in with another request for 3 more years. And by the way, normally it's more than one. It's like 2 every 3 years or something like that. We can revisit that. I
Okay.
mean, that would still be very stringent and that's what we want, but regardless of that, that is the way it works. It's a leak of any nature anywhere. You just can't, for that site, you
Yeah,
can't
so-
come in.
I think we need to remove this repeated submittal for leak on the same service line. I think if we remove that and then make sure that we say, leak adjustment over the 3 year for twice, but we have to make sure that it's a different line, right? Like, you came in with your sink one, 6 months
Keep it
later.
simple, like, keep it all
So, yeah,
tax lot.
yeah,
Tax lot.
I think this time limitation thing is going to solve a lot of problems, even like on your hotel situation.
Mhm.
Where, if they are not keeping up with maintenance, the limitation is, well, that's great. You just came in 6 months ago on this. You can't do that. You're still
Right.
within your 3 year. To me, that's almost simple and self-incentivizing,
Yeah,
the time period limitation.
Because it's very easy to have the plumber put on there that the leak was somewhere else.
Well, then that's my question, because that's what we were saying earlier, that we were saying two times, two different lines. So that's why I just want to be clear. We just say once a year, once every 3 years, I'm fine with it. I think
Yeah.
that makes it simple and clear.
Right. I think I would eliminate the bullet about same service line.
Exactly,
Because it's not relevant now.
All right.
right.
Yep.
So yeah.
And we'll see how many get multiples within 3 years. There's going to be a lot of, hey, oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
It's like, no, sorry. Come back in 3 years and let us know.
And we've already gone over time
Time
limits for
limits, yes.
repair. It was
Yes.
the 10 days, only there was some
You wanted to
discussion
make
about
work days.
calendar
Working
days
days.
or work.
Business days, I think, business days. Because you could catch somebody right during a holidays or something where the 10 business days to me sounds like it's an adequate, legitimate.
What's the penalty if they don't and they repair it on the 15th day?
Yeah, that's
They
a
get
good point.
zero?
Well, that's what I would assume based on this, if they're
They
required
miss the
to.
timeline.
they're
No, I'm not
required
saying I
to
disagree.
repair
I
it.
was-
Yeah, I mean, you just missed the
I
timeline.
mean, it doesn't preclude them from going ahead and submitting it, and making an appeal to you.
Yes.
Saying,
There you go.
we were in a pandemic. I couldn't get a plumber out here in 10 days. I'm asking the committee to consider giving me
A waiver on that, yeah.
because hopefully those are anomalies.
Right.
Because this 10-year timeframe or this 10-day timeframe has worked pretty good for us for a long
Yeah, I was gonna
time.
say,
We can just say at the discretion of the
Yeah.
Public Works Committee,
Yeah.
Good.
It can be,
whatever.
I think something like that can be flexible. We can probably even state it in there, but there has to be some sort of exigent.
You guys have the
circumstance.
authority to say, under these conditions,
Right.
even though the ordinance says that, under these conditions, the committee voted to let this.
And it could be like exceptions must be approved by the committee and all
Yeah.
that. So there is a,
Yeah.
If I could make one minor suggestion, if your intent is 10 business days, I would just go and say 14 calendar days. Because then you eliminate the need to determine.
Okay,
this is a
great.
federal,
All right.
but my
You're
business is
good.
still working. And so I think that captures your intent.
Sure.
Makes it a lot more streamlined and nobody's arguing about, well, Christmas Eve's a holiday, but
Yes,
know.
you're
Yeah.
right. No, thank you. That's,
Let's
I
do
think that's a
that.
good idea.
okay, great idea.
Okay.
That does make the timeline a little shorter though, when there are hard holidays. If you convert business
Yes.
days to calendar days and you've got Christmas and New Year's and everything, then it's really like 12 days. So I'm just pointing that out. That actually makes it a little more.
And calendar days assumes that a plumber's working on weekends versus.
See, business days don't
Business days.
allow that. Well, yeah, but 14 is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's not 2 weeks if there's holidays.
Correct. That is.
That theoretically could only be 8 business days.
Well, or you can say with the exception of holiday periods.
Right now,
Well,
it's what, 10 days?
right now it's 10 calendar days.
10 calendar
14 is
days.
14
even more
calendars, we're
gracious.
giving
We
them
can
more.
say 15, whatever, but your point is well taken.
No,
I-
Let's keep it
yeah.
simple and make it a
No, I
date
agree.
instead of.
So and like I said, we've had this for years and I don't think it's made, any difference or a change. I
Yeah.
have never heard of anybody coming in and saying, oh, I missed I'm 11 days. So I myself just keep it at the 10 calendar day to just, because then we don't have people saying, but before I said 10 days, now you have 14 or, I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Because you guys have gone ahead and approved requests that fell outside that 10 days.
Exactly.
They've
think you-
explained on their.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right.
Sure.
Comments of why they couldn't get the plumber there that quick, and we've approved it.
Yeah.
And it's gone through.
It could be an out of state owner. with
And I
the-
propose 10 days at the discretion of.
Yeah, because then we're really not changing.
Gives you some flexibility.
Okay, that's good.
Take your last one, for example. It was 13 days that it took when they found it to when they had the line replaced.
Right.
It took 13 calendar days.
And the staff here said,
They seem to be on a pretty
Prove it.
good about it.
So I
Yeah.
think it's not something that, is set in stone.
Okay.
The idea is to set the sense of urgency,
Yes, yeah.
but give yourself the flexibility to just
Yeah.
say,
And
we're
I
still
think-
gonna approve it.
10 days is definitely, if you give me 10 days, I look at it better than if you give me like 13, 14, 15 days,
Right.
it's just a little bit.
Starts creeping
Yeah,
out.
exactly. It's like, no, I have more time.
well, and like I say, it's been working.
Yeah,
So-
so,
10 days. All right.
okay, a limited number of billing cycles, or Denise, you need that? For relief? What do we have
How
now?
many cycles do we let pass before they find it? They're made aware of it. And with the eye on water, we should probably reduce that a little bit because they should be aware if they're on eye on water. So maybe we
Right.
reduce that to 2.
Do we have
We have 90 days right now.
9 days?
Okay.
Instead of 3.
Yeah, we have a system and looking at this, at the sewer part. Is there any reason it couldn't be the same on the water side?
What is
The number of billing cycles?
60?
So 90 days is the maximum amount that the city's willing to reimburse for relief
Right.
Okay,
currently.
I don't know why we would need to change that.
Well, the only thing I was thinking, Doug, is with the eye on water,
Yeah.
that they should be
Oh.
aware
Right.
that
Right.
Sooner.
in better time frame than
Plus,
if
they
they
do
don't
get a
have
call
that.
from Daryl and, so people know.
I mean, the 90 days was before they had a tool that told them immediately when they had a problem. So you could potentially reduce that amount of time.
Even 25 days.
Yeah, this would be eye on water driven, not driven by the fact that we're gonna possibly start this leak relief, because right now we have a form and it limits the number of billing cycles. It just happens to be only applicable to the sewer. There's no reason that couldn't just go over to the water on the same, measurement of cycles. What you're saying is eye on water could change that dynamic in holding people's feet to the fire in terms of monitoring. So I understand. Okay, that's what needs to be decided is whether,
I mean, isn't that part of your goal is
Right.
you want to set that sense of urgency? You want them to use the tool and you want them to fix it when they know they have a leak.
and how does that play with the monetary limitation? I suppose you could have a double limitation, not to exceed X number of billing cycles and not to exceed the dollar amount. They play together, don't they?
They should.
So,
Karen, you could add that to your review, just as a combo, a bundle, is it
The amount of the cycles.
right, the amount and the cycle? And based upon history.
I'm kind of conflicted on that. One side of me says leave it because you're going to have a certain number of people that aren't going to use the eye on water. They're seasoned individuals and they don't have the technology. So you don't want to make it so tight
Correct.
that you hurt those individuals. But Daryl and myself,
That's what I was saying. You guys do call, make.
we still make the call. Yeah.
That's, to me, that has a lot,
Mhm.
True, even if you're not on.
Yeah,
We can leave it for right now and then.
I'm
Well,
thinking like Steve is.
I'm thinking 60 days.
That's what I'm.
2
Take it down.
months. I'll
Okay.
give them enough time to be aware.
Yeah,
of that.
that's 2 billing cycles.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think
Instead of 3
that's,
billing.
That's
cycles.
cool. 2
Yeah.
so
billing.
then the question is, are we going to change the form and that'll be the same billing cycles for I guess the sewer it's all in one bill, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, so okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a combined bill, so that'll work. Just thinking through here.
all right, commercial accounts will, with large complex leaks of submitted the detailed leaks. Okay, so that one, it's,
I think that's probably on, that's borrowed from Hermiston.
Yeah. okay. All right, that's pretty much what we have. So we're almost done. We're done.
Yeah.
We're done until Karen gives us the information and then
Right.
we'll be ready to have, yeah, good job.
The dollar amount.
Yeah, I'll get you the not to exceed amount, the dollar amount.
Right.
I'll shoot that out to you. We'll put this in draft and I'll leave that dollar amount blank. Next month, you guys can fill that in, what you want. I think we're there with a draft ordinance.
Cool.
Great.
So now we're down to the 22 project cards.
And the spreadsheets that are on the back.
Right, so-
Projects,
Yeah.
tell you where we're at with them.
Mhm.
The one that is not on here that we've completed, that is a big project, is the Haystack pump station. Completed that over the holidays. The contractor was out to make adjustments to a coupling that they hadn't done properly. But for all intents and purposes, that project is complete. And I put this in front of you because we're getting ready to go for budget, for next year's budget.
Okay.
And the two projects that I had down that are, it would be my desire, but I want you guys to weigh in on that, looking at these master plan projects and anything else that you'd like me to go forward and ask for money for. We got awarded our $586,000 for our seismic valves. So obviously that would be a water project for sure. We're waiting for that contract to be in hand, and that transfers money to the city or makes it available for us to do our first drawdown. So the next step after we get that would be for me to have an engineer design and engineer that project and then put the bid out to construct. So that would be the water project we'd be looking at. Not so much to ask for money, but just to put that on the table that that's going to be a water project, okay? And then for wastewater, hopefully we will have an answer from FEMA on the generators, the 4 generators that we have asked for. And they have allowed us to add to that that application, the add-on to the pump stations to put those generators permanent, right? Because that's the whole point of those 4 generators. Midway and Siusla are the only pump stations that we'd have to do a building expansion to house the generators. The other 2, Ecola and Maine, we're just replacing the existing one, so it does not require a building expansion. So that's what that project would look like. That, to me, would be the priority for our wastewater. If we don't get those generators, then I would most likely ask the budget committee to consider funding at least 2 of those.
Okay.
Okay. Ecola and Maine are critical. We have to replace those generators that are in there. They're old, they're failing, and those are a top priority out of the 4. Midway and Siusla are the ones we always have to roll the mobile generator. And that's a master plan project saying saves us time, money, and critical response time when we have a power outage. So that's why those 4 are top. If there's anything else on the project list that you guys want me to put on the table, I'd like that input between now and our March, April meeting, because we're going to start going forward, thereafter. And I want to have my list fine-tuned, get Bruce enough time to look at it before we start going in front of the budget committee. Okay, that gives you a couple months to kind of look at these projects. The other water project that I kind of toyed with a little bit, but I'm just not sure. This year was a real lesson learned for me and the team as well, is we realized our maximum. I asked for so much money for so many projects, thinking that I would probably get half of that. We got almost everything. And so these guys were overwhelmed this year. And then you add unexpected things that come up on top of that, and it was just overwhelming. And then time away for sick, things that happened during the year. It was definitely, I said, okay, note to self, that's our maximum. And we never want to be in that mode again. It's been a tough year. So I put these 2 projects on, and that's the only thing I put on this paper, because normally I put 3 projects for each team. It's just too much.
Yeah.
So if we had a second one, I would probably look at the line replacement, the water line replacement up at Haystack Heights. That's a master plan project. It's part of our water resiliency project. And if I were to get the money, I think that that's a good location in the city for us to get our feet wet on line replacements. I know that the community gave us feedback that they felt we had taken some focus off of the line replacement, and we were focusing too much on the seismic aspect of our water resiliency. And I respectfully disagree with that. It was just, we could only do so much. And so those were the priority. And outside of our seismic valve, the other money that we're chasing the funding for, the 3.2 million, is the line that goes from the tank to our plant and down to the RV park. Bruce and I go in front of the board, a Business Oregon board, on February 4th, and we pitch that project for it to go into the next phase of the funding approval process. So that project is still out there, but it'll be a while before we have that money in hand where we could actually pull the trigger on it. And so that's why I say, if there was a second project we put on the table, it'd probably be Haystack Heights. We could address not only the line replacement, but we could get that system looped, get some hydrants up there, and be able to address the concern that has been put on the table about the ability to fight structure fires, or, you know, the woods, if it caught on fire, for the fire department to be able to battle it up in that area. So I put that out there as consideration for you guys.
Okay.
But outside of that, that's about the max I think our team could tolerate in 1 year, based on our staffing level and the ability to do our normal jobs with projects as well. Okay.
Very good.
So that's why I put that on there and had Kelsey put the spreadsheet, as I just want to get your feedback on other projects so that I know you guys feel we're heading the right direction.
Okay.
So if you guys feel the need of anything important, send it over to Karen.
Right. And the only thing I would, just because I live up there close, is that the condition of the Cola Park Road going up. Is that repairable? Is it good or?
It depends on where on Ecola Park Road we're talking about, because as I had kind of go over with you guys in the past, there's a shared ownership, if you will. We own the lower part of Ecola Park Road where you're coming off of Fifth.
Right, okay.
And then it stops and State Parks ODOT takes on.
Okay, very
It's
good. Yeah.
almost a split road, if you will. So if this is the road, it's almost, you know, State Parks handles some of it. And then ODOT as part of that.
Okay, so
So we have all met up on Ecola Park Road, all three of those parties, and we've kind of talked about the condition of that. And quite honestly, where that slide is, that has been active this year, where it forks off to Hemlock and then goes on up Ecola towards your place, Scott.
yeah.
We've had some movement up there.
You said that you could feel the water running underneath, and that's a little bit scary. Yeah.
I know that Aaron Matusik has been working with ODOT.
Hey, very good.
Put some pressure on them.
Excellent.
Make that a priority. It's not the city's purview. I mean, I can give input if they ask for it, but I have no authority to take any kind of action.
Great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for all those.
Oh, yeah, unbelievable.
Projects that were done last year, so thank you guys.
They allow us to do some just, you know, real quick and dirty repairs, if you will, just to keep that road passable. But that's money to the city as well. But our abilities are very limited.
Right, okay.
Bruce, did you want to add something on projects?
It was more of a counseling situation for you when you're doing a presentation. Don't talk about a water line in terms of getting our feet wet.
Very good.
I don't want to jinx us.
Yeah, okay, very good.
Well noted. Thank you, boss.
You certainly have been wet
Do
lately.
you have anything for good of the order? We had, I'm just gonna say, we have so many great supporters of beach cleanup. Yesterday I was at a blood drive and I got called saying, we don't have a beach cleanup. And I said, no, we don't, but do you have bags that I have given you? And they said, yes, we do. And they came from Portland.
Beautiful.
So they actually went to, all the way to Arch Cave and then Tolovana, and they dropped off several bags here that I just dumped in the morning. So we do have great people that come from out of town
That's
She
great.
just kind of, cleaned the beach, so.
Right, and then,
Give kudos to those.
And State Parks texted me at 6 this morning and said they were heading down to pick that stuff up down at Arch Cave.
Thank you. I figure you had the resources, so I didn't want to call Bo and say, hey, Bo, by the way, I have something for you. Sorry.
That's all right.
Give it to you, Karen. So anyways, that's my thing. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
just one more comment, and that's it. From my view up on A Street, I took a picture at 5:00 PM on the evening of the tsunami, and we were packed. People on the beach like ants.
Yeah,
So it kind of like everybody, like once we had a tsunami, everybody came.
yeah.
They stay off the beach, they hit.
You know what they say, even if it's bad publicity, it's publicity.
It's publicity, that's right. So, okay, that's it. That's the final note.
But if I can, to that point, Karen told me that she was out at the beach and we had the siren, and the siren was, we got to sort all that out.
Yeah.
But the first siren, people ran this way, away from the beach. At the second siren, they all started running towards the beach.
Oh, my God.
Get their phones out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I was up there and all of a sudden there was language which people could hear and then they understood, this is it. Because we had the cow, then we had the siren, then we had this. So, it was a good drill. Yeah.
It was interesting, yeah.
Very good.
Exactly. It was interesting. Right? You were getting people off the beach. I was getting people off the beach, but it worked out pretty good. I mean, it was something that, it was a good kind of practice. But
Yeah.
we
It was very
have
good.
to talk a little bit more about.
I would much rather have the horn go off and give me a chance to get my go bag and
Yes.
wait for the command to
Oh, yeah.
evacuate than to have no sound at all.
Oh, absolutely. No, it was,
Always a silver lining in every.
You're in the meeting now, but you guys can continue talking, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
done.
But yeah, it was a good,
Oh,
good practice.
and then the last thing is the next meeting, I will be out of town, but I will be on Zoom call.
Okay.
Made sure.
Traveling way too much.
Well, because we just got off a 3,060 mile road trip
Wow.
for a month, we traveled everywhere.
Didn't hit any blizzards on the way?
No, we got close several times and
I thought you
we saw a lot of gas rising. I mean, California, $5
Yeah.
a gallon. I mean, there's no question. So,
Could be the same for me. We're hoping to take our annual Palm Springs trip the day after the committee meeting. So I should be able to zoom in. We had to cancel it the last 2 years.
right, yes.
For various reasons. So at this point,
And the only reason is, that, my son in Sacramento, their family got COVID. So they'll be over it, but, and that's including the 8-month-old baby.
Oh, man.
So he had a little bit